I walked home from work every day, taking the same route that I had taken for years. It was a familiar path and I had never felt unsafe before. But one day, I noticed a man walking behind me. He was far enough back that I didn't think much of it, but as I walked, I realized that he was keeping pace with me no matter how fast or slow I walked. I tried to shake him off, taking different turns and going down different streets, but he was always there following me from a distance. I couldn't make out his face, but I knew that he was watching me. One day, as I was walking home, the man suddenly appeared next to me. I was startled, but I tried to keep my cool. "Can I help you?" I asked. The man didn't say anything. He just walked next to me, his eyes locked on mine. I could feel his breath on my neck, and I knew that something was very wrong. I tried to speed up, but he matched my pace. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I was trapped alone with this strange man who seemed intent on following me. Finally, I broke away and ran as fast as I could. I didn't look back and didn't stop until I was safe inside my apartment. From that day on, I began to notice the man everywhere I went. He was always in the shadows, watching me from a distance. I tried to ignore him, to go about my life as if nothing was wrong, but I knew that I was being stalked. I tried to tell the police, but they didn't take me seriously. They told me that I needed more evidence, that I couldn't accuse someone of stalking me without proof. But I knew what was happening. I could feel it in my bones. Every night, I locked all of the doors and windows, turning on every light in the apartment. I felt like I was under siege, like the man was trying to break in and hurt me. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a noise outside my window. I looked out and saw the man, staring back at me. He had climbed up the fire escape and was watching me through the glass. I screamed and called the police, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. They searched the area, but they couldn't find him. After that, I knew that I had to do something to protect myself. I took self-defense classes, bought pepper spray, and installed a security system in my apartment. I was determined not to be a victim. But the man continued to stalk me, always watching from a distance. I didn't know what he wanted, but I knew that he was dangerous. One night as I was walking home from a friend's house, I felt someone grab me from behind. It was the man, his hands around my neck, trying to strangle me. I fought back with all of my strength, kicking and screaming. Finally, I broke free and ran as fast as I could. That was the last time I saw the man. I don't know what happened to him, but I knew that he would always be a part of my life, a reminder that danger could be lurking around every corner. In September of 2021, I was in a PlayStation party with my friend having an ordinary night playing games until my phone started blowing up with TikTok notifications. It was a random account I've never seen before. They started off by tagging me in a lot of videos, then saying they're in my cameras, then telling me to open my door. I opened my security camera app to see if anyone was really outside or if this was all a harmless joke. It wasn't a joke. What I saw in the security footage was a man standing across my street looking at my house, still threatening me through TikTok comments. I started panicking because he was telling me I had a nice iPad. I don't know how he knew I was watching him through my iPad. I was on edge because I didn't know what the guy's intentions were, or what he wanted from me, so I never went outside to confront him. After seeing the man wasn't doing anything besides standing outside staring at my house for hours, I tried to ignore the situation by going back to playing my game until I got a random phone call. It said no caller ID, so I didn't answer it. After I didn't answer that phone call, I got another. Then another. Then another, getting about 100 calls that night. The next day, he was still threatening me through TikTok, so I changed the password on my camera system since the man knew I had the cameras linked with my iPad. He noticed that I changed the password, so he told me through TikTok that he's in my camera again and to stop blocking him or he'll disable them. God knows how long he had access to my cameras prior to me changing the password. I received phone calls for weeks, sometimes getting them in class or sometimes waking me up while I was asleep. One night he woke me up with a phone call. I was fed up at that point, so I answered. I had never answered one of his calls before, so I was nervous. I asked him, "Why are you doing this?" His response shook me to my core. He was breathing loud for a few seconds, then started screaming for a good 20 seconds at the top of his lungs. I was creeped out from that, and didn't go back to sleep for the rest of the night. My phone started to blow up again with TikTok notifications. It was the man. This time he was telling me, "Nice pink house," then proceeded to almost tell me my exact address, which was a little off. I changed my phone number shortly after that, and all of a sudden I stopped getting phone calls and threatening TikTok comments from the man, and haven't been messed with for a year now. My roommate and I used to live in Virginia, about 20 minutes from her mom's apartment, and we used to dog sit for her all the time. One night after we dropped the dogs off, we stopped at the Wells Fargo near our apartment so my roommate could deposit the money her mom had given her for watching the dogs. It was probably around 11 at night. As we were about to pull into our complex, she said, "That car is following us." I asked which car she meant, and she said to look behind us. Sure enough, there was a black car following us down the road. She turned on her turn signal, and so did the black car. I asked her how long he'd been there, and she said he'd been following us since we'd left her mom's house. Not only was I freaked out, but I was thoroughly pissed. I yelled at her and demanded to know why she hadn't said something sooner, and she said she hadn't wanted to scare me. I asked her if he followed us to Wells Fargo, and she said he did. He pulled up behind us while she deposited money at the ATM, and pulled through after us without depositing anything or stopping. After calling her an idiot for not telling me until we were home, I told her to turn right after the gate at our complex instead of left, because our apartment was one of the first on the end. It was bad enough that he knew what complex we were in. He didn't need to see which apartment we were in. She turned right, and I told her to floor it. We drove through the complex as fast as we could and lost him near the back of the complex. We parked across the street from our apartment, turned off the car, and crouched down low to see if he would drive by again. We didn't see him, but we also didn't feel safe. We ran inside as quickly as we could to grab some blankets and pillows, the can of pepper spray we had, and I grabbed my knife. We got back in the car, and I called my ex-boyfriend in a panic asking him what else we could do. My roommate said she'd drive us to the movie theater she worked at, because it wouldn't close for a few hours and there would still be people in the parking lot. My ex kept asking me questions about the car that I couldn't answer, so I gave my roommate the phone. She described the car to the best of her ability, and then stopped mid-sentence when we got onto the highway. He was following us again. My ex asked if she was certain it was the same car, and she said it had to be. She never saw the license plate, but she recognized the body and the headlights, and the shape of the man who was driving it. She gave me back the phone and called her manager at work to tell him we were going to be coming by and what was going on. She managed to get a few cars ahead of the black car and got to the parking lot. She parked in the back before anyone else pulled in, but we didn't see the black car. One of her coworkers came outside and parked next to us to wait, while my roommate called the cops. My ex promised we'd be okay and that he would have been there if he could, and that if anything else happened to call him so he could talk to his sergeant about leaving for the weekend to check on us. He's in the army and was on base a few hours away from us. The police said that since we didn't have the plate number there was nothing they could do, but when we told them where we lived, they said there was going to be a few officers there on patrol that night anyway. Since we couldn't tell whether or not he'd followed us into the parking lot, they told us to just go home. We ended up sleeping in the car in a Walmart parking lot and didn't come home until the next night. We never saw that black car again.